You leave the house, streets packed, cafes full, trains shoulder to shoulder, and somehow you've never felt more invisible. Nobody's rude to you. Nobody's mean. People just move past you like your furniture. You go home, open your phone, scroll for 2 hours, and you still feel that same hollow thing. Like you were around people all day, but never with anyone. Here's the part that's going to annoy you. Someone called this exact feeling 50 years ago. Before smartphones, before the internet, before main character energy was a phrase. 1977. A sociologist named Richard Sennett wrote a book that basically said, give it a few decades, and people are going to forget how to just exist around each other. No performance, no oversharing, just coexisting. And when that skill dies, he said, it's not just your friendships that suffer. It's your politics, your neighborhoods, your entire sense of belonging to something bigger than your group chat. He was right. Today, I'm breaking down exactly how it happened, and why the fix isn't make more friends. It's something almost nobody talks about.
Rewind to London and Paris, the 1700s. Picture the street. Everyone's dressed insane. Wigs the size of bird cages, faces painted white or red, coats loud enough to see from 3 blocks away. You'd think chaotic. No privacy, no order, everyone doing their own thing. Actually, the opposite. That outfit was information. A merchant dressed like a merchant. A tradesman dressed like his trade. Strangers could look at you for 2 seconds and know exactly how to treat you, with zero conversation. And here's the twist that breaks people's brains when they hear it. This had nothing to do with being authentic. Nobody on that street was showing you their real personality. The clothes weren't self-expression. They were a costume for a role, and everyone had silently agreed to play along. Sennett calls this the theatrum mundi, the world as a stage. Not in a fake, cynical way, in a fun way, like an unspoken game strangers played together so the city could actually function. Go to a coffee house in 1750s London and you talk politics, gossip, business with total strangers for hours, and nobody asked, but who are you really? That question would have seemed insane, rude even. Because the whole point of public life back then was this: you could connect with a total stranger without handing them your inner world. Think about how freeing that actually is. You didn't need to be vulnerable to be social. You didn't need to share your trauma to make small talk. You just needed to know your role and play it well. At home, behind closed doors, that's where the real, messy, unfiltered version of you lived. Public and private were 2 different rooms in the same house. Neither one leaked into the other. That's the part we lost. Public life used to be a joyful, formal game, not a courtroom where you're constantly on trial for being real enough.
So what killed it? One word did most of the damage: authenticity. Slowly, across the 1800s, society flipped the rule. Instead of play your role well, it became prove you're being real. Costume became suspicious. If you were polished, formal, composed, people started asking what you were hiding. Sennett has a name for this shift: the intimate society. A culture where the only thing that counts as real is what's personal, emotional, deeply felt. Everything impersonal, manners, roles, formality, starts to feel fake by comparison. Sounds harmless. It wasn't. Watch what it did to politics first. You used to vote for a platform, a set of policies. Boring, sure, but you were judging the plan. Once personality became the measuring stick, politics turned into a popularity contest with a suit on. Suddenly, a leader's vibe mattered more than what they'd actually do in office. Warm, relatable, someone I'd grab a beer with. That became the whole pitch. Sennett has this brutal line for it. Modern charisma is basically a psychic striptease. The leader reveals just enough of himself to feel human, magnetic, trustworthy, while you never actually examine what he's proposing. You feel connected to him. You couldn't explain why. That's the trick. And it's not just politics. Watch what happened to neighborhoods. As knowing people personally became the only kind of connection that counted, people started retreating from the messy, mixed, impersonal city into small, same-looking, same-thinking suburbs. Everyone in the cul-de-sac looks like you, votes like you, earns like you. It feels safe. Sennett's point is that it's actually a trap dressed up as comfort. You've shrunk your world down to people who already agree with you and called it community. Meanwhile, real power, the stuff that actually runs your life, corporations, policy, systems, keeps operating at a scale you've stopped paying attention to. Here's the trap in one sentence. The more we demanded that everything be personal and authentic, the smaller and lonelier our actual world became. We didn't get more real connection. We just got exhausted. Because now every relationship has to hit this impossible bar. Constant vulnerability, constant openness, constant proving you're not fake. That's not intimacy. That's a performance with your friends as the judges.
Now, here's where it gets uncomfortable. Because this next part isn't me stretching a 1977 book onto your phone. Sennett himself looked at social media decades later and said it's the same story, just faster. Let's line up the damage. The cult of individualism. Every platform is basically a stage that only fits one person. You. Your face, your story, your authentic self, except it's on a 24-hour broadcast schedule now. The irony is brutal. Performing, being unfiltered all day is still a performance. You've just added a ring light. The erosion of public space. Third places, the town square, the local cafe, the park bench where strangers actually sat near each other. They've been quietly dying for a century. And when the smartphone showed up, tech people genuinely believed it would revive that. Your pocket becomes a cafe. Strangers reconnect instantly, they said. It didn't happen. Even the people building this stuff admitted. What we got instead was intimacy on a feed. Quick, personal, fragmented moments. Not the messy, sustained mixing of actual different people in an actual shared space. Fear of strangers. The algorithm doesn't want you meeting someone different. It wants you comfortable, so it keeps feeding you people who already think like you, look like you, agree with you. It's the gated suburb from Act 2, except now it's a feed, and you didn't even choose to move in. It moved in around you. The intimacy trap, level 2. Now, vulnerability is the business model. Storytime is a genre. Trauma is content. The more raw and personal you get, the more the algorithm rewards you. So everyone's incentivized to keep performing authentic harder and harder forever, with no finish line. Sound exhausting? It is. That's the point Sennett made about intimacy 50 years early. He just didn't have a word for engagement. And the social media impact, in one blunt line, even the man who built one of the biggest platforms on Earth said the quiet part out loud, that privacy, as a concept, was basically over. Not because people got hacked, because the entire business only works if your private life keeps becoming public content. Researchers who study this, people like Sherry Turkle at MIT, found something specific and kind of heartbreaking. Kids who are in constant digital contact with each other are still growing up more isolated, not less. More contact, less connection. That's not a contradiction. That's the whole thesis of this video in one data point. So here's the real sharp version of what social media is not. It's not a public square. A public square is where you bump into people unlike you and figure out how to coexist anyway. Social media is a mirror. You open it, and mostly what looks back is you. Your opinions reflected by an algorithm, agreed with by people who already think like you, arguing occasionally with a caricature of someone who doesn't. That's not the Ancien Regime street, full of strangers you had to learn to share space with. That's a hall of mirrors with a comment section. So here's the whole arc, compressed. 200 years ago, you didn't need to know a stranger's secrets to share a city with them. You needed a shared role, a shared game, a little formality,
a little distance. And that distance is exactly what let millions of different people live shoulder to shoulder without hating each other. Then we decided formality was fake, and only raw, personal, authentic contact counted as real. So we tore that distance down, in politics, in neighborhoods, and finally, at scale, online. And what we got wasn't more connection. It was more exhaustion, more isolation, more people standing in a crowd and feeling like nobody sees them. Here's the actually useful part, the part that isn't just doom. You don't need social media to become a real public square. You don't need to be everyone's best friend. And you definitely don't need to overshare to prove you're real. What you need, what all of us have half forgotten, is the boring, underrated skill of coexisting with people you don't know deeply. Small talk that isn't a waste of time. A role you play well in public that doesn't cost you your privacy. Space for a stranger that isn't friendship or nothing. That's not fake. That's the glue that used to hold cities and politics, and yes, your own sense of belonging together. So here's my question for you, and I actually want an answer in the comments, not just a like. Do you think social media killed the public square? Or did it just move somewhere we haven't figured out how to rebuild it yet? Drop it below. I read every single one, and I'll pin the best take. If this made you see your own scroll time a little differently, subscribe. This is exactly the kind of thing MindVoid digs into every week. Modern life decoded through psychology, minus the boring lecture. See you in the next one.